Now, who are you?
No one interesting. Who are you?
Landon Ricketts. Not a name that means much anymore.
Means a little. You were famous when I was a boy.
Yeah, killing men's a strange kind of fame. I was the fastest in my time, I must have been. I'm the only one left.
Landon Ricketts, a once feared but always respected legendary gunslinger of the Wild West. Tales of the man would travel far and wide, cementing his legacy throughout the world of Red Dead Redemption. And even though during our time in the title we only experienced a little amount of time with the character, it was still impactful enough with players to embed the shooters in the memory of many. So join me today as we look at the life of Landon Ricketts, whilst exploring the moves and decisions he made throughout his time on this earth before his passing in 1914. Welcome to the video. You're listening to Phil of Philby Gaming. If you enjoy the following, you all know what to do, and if you're new to the channel and haven't subscribed already, after watching, please consider doing so. Without further delay, let's begin. A strange kind of fame, the life of Landon Ricketts, Red Dead Redemption Myths and Legends. As John, we don't get to physically encounter Landon Ricketts until well into the narrative of the title, shortly after crossing the border to Mexico in search of his two former brothers, Vandelin's gang members Javier Escuela and Bill Williamson. But from both newspaper articles as well as rumours and storytellings concerning the gunslinger, we can piece together some history, albeit not a great deal of information. According to Rockstar Games themselves, Landon Ricketts was born in 1861, making him approximately 50 years of age in 1911, but due to him appearing considerably older, this is often perceived as an oversight by the gaming company. At speculation, most would place him in his early to mid-70s. Ricketts was married at one point before his wife's passing of unknown causes prior to 1911, and judging by his comical response to this, it may have been some time ago.
Hey, Mr. Marston. How you keeping, sir?
Just fine, thank you. And you?
Oh, very well, sir. Thank God my wife died. Unlucky in love, lucky in cards.
Ricketts had many stories behind him, emphasising his legacy as the fastest gunslinger of his time. One predominant one was the rumour that he was somehow involved with the Blackwater ferry heist. This stems from an article in the Blackwater Ledger, issue 55, which reads as follows. Landon Ricketts rumoured alive. Perhaps the legends of the Old West do live on in this more modern century. Reports from Mexico suggest that possibly the last of the great gunmen, Landon Ricketts, may be alive and well just south of the border. Mr. Ricketts, who survived the Blackwater Massacre of 1899 and who shot and killed both of the Butcher brothers in 1896, amongst many other rumoured and verified killings, was long believed dead after a late-night gunfight in Eastern California in 1902. Now it seems the last of the men who live by the speed of their reflexes may still be among us. It is unclear whether he will now join the Wild West show. Landon's involvement in the Blackwater ferry heist is often scepticised, as there is no mention of it in Red Dead Redemption 2, which of course begins the tale of the Vandelin gang immediately following the botched robbery. This may also be a developer oversight or a narrative that was simply rewritten. It's believed that Ricketts moved to Chuparosa following both the events of Blackwater and the killing of the Butcher brothers prior to this. In Chuparosa, Landon would become a lawman of sorts, which was often the case with outlaws and gunslingers during this era, notably Wild Bill Hickok. There is a second newspaper article describing the events from Landon's past, specifically the shooting of a man named Johnny West. It is said that Ricketts shot West in the back, an act considered cowardice during this era, although this may simply be a fable altered over time. However the tales were told, Landon Ricketts still gained notoriety for his skills with a revolver, embedding both a respected and feared man. This is where we encounter him in 1911 as he lives a life of peace in Chuparosa, Nueva Paraiso. Upon John's arrival to the small town, he's confronted by three thug-like locals who attempt to intimidate the former outlaw as Landon Ricketts watches closely from the shadows.
Can I see the boots, gringo?
I think you can see him from where you're standing just fine, senor.
Take off the boots, Americano.
As you wish.
Very good. Very good indeed, sir. What a great way to improve border relations. An illiterate farmer crossing the river, coming into their civilization and butchering the local peasants? Thank you very much, sir.
Don't mention it, old man.
You kill peasants, you become a peasant.
I never aspired to be anything more.
A socialist, huh?
Landon criticizes John for his actions, almost belittling him, but offers to give him some pointers to improve his shooting. This begins a teacher-student relationship between the pair, with Ricketts taking John under his wing, albeit the reasons are unclear. This relationship continues through John's time in Chuparosa, as Landon constantly asks for assistance from John in aiding the locals. In exchange for this, John is introduced to Louisa, a young lady considered to be part of the rebellious faction fighting against the Mexican government, who may have connections which assist John with his real goals, capturing or killing both Javier and Bill. Throughout the multiple interactions between the two, Ricketts continues to criticize John constantly, ensuring that John is not Landon Ricketts, for example.
I can see you haven't lost your touch, Landon.
Nobody said I had. You talk real big for a boy who couldn't shoot straight a half hour ago.
And you talk big for an old man who can't stand up straight no more.
You're a long way from being a Landon Ricketts partner, young, old, or otherwise.
Despite this, John still feels he can open up to Landon, not only about his past, but about his intentions too. The two form a bond over their short time together. After assisting both Landon and the residents of Chuparosa one final time, this time by helping free captured prisoners, John and Landon say their goodbyes, as John remains in Mexico and Landon crosses the border, returning home to the United States.
Now, we'll handle it from here. I know you got other matters to attend to.
It's been nice riding with you, Mr. Ricketts.
And you too. You took me back to another time. Talk to Louisa. She'll help you, and she's well connected in that other land. I hope you find what you're looking for, Marston.
You know what I'm looking for.
If you say so, Marston. If you say so.
But what of the character and legacy of Landon Ricketts? The Game of the Year edition of Red Dead Redemption describes the man as follows. Landon is a 50-year-old former star gunslinger, but now he is past his prime. Holed up in Mexico and awaiting death, he is tough and powerful, but he is also vain and somewhat pretentious. Once more, his age may be an oversight by Rockstar, but regardless, it's of no real importance. It does present him as a former star gunslinger, referencing the tales of his past. We hear mentions of the legacy of Ricketts in Red Dead Redemption 2, set 12 years prior to 1911.
So, what is it you need?
Why don't you have a look at that poster on the wall over there?
He's a low-down huckster. He's been poisoning folks with his miracle cure from here to Annesburg. Killed more than Landon Ricketts without even pulling a trigger. Gets some kind of sick satisfaction out of it.
This confirms that the stories have travelled far and wide, but are the stories accurate, or have they become somewhat fabricated over time? One of these tales can be uncovered in the Penny Dime novel titled Wild West Heroes, issue 132, in which Landon Ricketts is featured. Instead of reading the book in its entirety, I'll just read the short passages concerning Landon, as it mostly focuses on Jim Boy Calloway. He moved on the general, preparing his knife, ready to grab the throat and drive the knife deep into his heart. Suddenly, white-hot flame exploded through his hand as a gunshot rang out, his knife having been shot out of his grasp. His feet were kicked out from under him, and a Schofield revolver was pointed at his face. Jim Boy Calloway, why are you wearing that deputy badge? The man holding the revolver scoffed. You keep jumping from one side of the fence to the other, you might just get impaled on it. I could say the same thing about you, Landon Ricketts, Calloway scoffed. I heard you and your brother opened up a brothel. What makes a buffalo hunter, saloon keeper, gold miner, and now brothel owner put on a badge, Ricketts said. Clanton Fitch is holed up in that fort. He killed my brother in Blackwater, and I aim to kill him. Damn you, Ricketts, don't get in my way, Calloway replied. That man you nearly cut open is General Emilio Salgado. He hates Fitch as much as you do, Ricketts said. They killed his wife and have his daughter prisoner in the fort. That walking beer keg, Colonel Baldwin, damn near let the outlaws walk in the front door. He and his men were so drunk. Rumour is, though, they're getting desperate inside since supplies have been cut off. A cry rang out like a trumpet from one of the banditos posted as an outlook. The front doors of the fort had opened up and a raiding party of dozens of men were heading directly for them. You still the fastest left-handed draw or have gone soft, Ricketts said. You didn't hear about them 14 men I killed at Lucy Hollow, replied Calloway. I heard you shot someone in the back, Ricketts responded. They deserved it, Calloway said. Ricketts grinned. One thing of note in the writing is when Ricketts states to Calloway that if he keeps jumping from one side of the fence to the other, he might just get impaled on it. Landon says something very similar to John, referring him to working both sides of the rebels and the Mexican government.
Melendez seems to have more enemies by the day.
Perhaps you would know. Rumor has it you've been making all kinds of new friends.
I don't pay much attention to rumors.
Just be careful, John. Keep jumping from one side of the fence to the other, you might just get impaled on it.
I have to find these two men. With respect, how I do it is no concern of yours.
Choose your tone wisely, partner. Remember who you're talking to.
How could I ever forget?
And who are you, John Marston? Apart from a rat feeding every other hand he can find, my name means something. All you've done is kill a few peasants, and the only real outlaw you've taken on dropped you like a bad habit.
Now, I politely ask you to watch your tone, Ricketts.
All I'm saying is, maybe there's a reason why people around here don't want to talk.
So whether these tales, printed for our entertainment, or fabricated for reader effect, there's definitely at least some truth behind them. But what of his life following his semi-retirement from gunslinging? Referring back to the newspaper article, it's speculated as to whether Ricketts would participate in the Wild West show. The Wild West show was a popular attraction, showing from 1870 to around 1920, that united several gunslingers from the West to showcase their acting skills, glorifying their days as shootists. It's speculated that Ricketts didn't wish to involve himself in this, as he considers his notoriety as a gunslinger, killing other gunslingers, as a strange kind of fame. He may not have been as proud of these apparent achievements as others, now understanding them to be senseless and meaningless killings as he grew older. Or it could be the tale of him killing Johnny West by shooting him in the back. Landon may feel that he could somewhat be exposed for this if he were to publicise himself. Adding to this is the fact that Landon is curious as to what others back home think about him and wonders what tales are still being told.
I'd have to say I'm surprised you heard of Landon Ricketts. I would have thought an old goat like me would have been long forgotten by now.
I heard many a story when I was a boy. Still do sometimes.
What, these days? I find that hard to believe. What do people say?
Oh, you know how them conversations go. Fellers arguing over who's the toughest, who's the fastest, and who shot people in the back.
I'd place good money on me still being the fastest.
Is that so, old man?
I spent my life proving people wrong, partner.
In one final newspaper article concerning Landon Ricketts, we learn of the fate of the famous gunslinger and his actions during his final days. It can be found in the final edition of the Blackwater Ledger and reads as follows. Landon Ricketts dead. Another piece of the Old West died last week with news that legendary gunman Landon Ricketts passed away quietly in his sleep. Mr. Ricketts, famous for his involvement in the Blackwater Massacre of 1899 and the deaths of the Butcher Brothers in 1896, returned to the US 3 years ago after living for many years in Mexico. He is rumoured to have been writing an autobiography at the time of his death, but the book was never made available for publishing. Amongst the legendary shooters of the West, Mr. Ricketts was considered to be one of the fastest draws, although he was dogged by rumours that one of his famous victories, when he shot and killed Johnny West, was won by shooting his opponent in the back. We're already aware of the cowardice killing of Johnny West, but what a shame is that the book detailing the life of Landon Ricketts was never publicised, leaving the tales to be told by gossip and rumours instead of from the gunslinger himself. If you enjoyed what you saw today, you all know what to do, and if you're new to the channel and haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. Please join me in the next video where we'll be discussing the mental decline of the treasure hunting Seth Bryars, released within the next few days. Thank you all for watching. You've been listening to Phil of Philby Gaming, and this has been The Life of Landon Ricketts, a strange kind of fame.